Hello, friends. Sorry for missing yesterday's episode, which I'm covering today. I didn't want to upset the whole schedule, though somebody did suggest that I can do that. So let's get down to the topic of yesterday, which we are doing today. We've spoken about brand building in the past, and we have spoken of how to start and grow a brand. And I have received many requests after that to speak a little more about it, even at the cost of repeating some of the things or most of the things. As one person very aptly put it is a subject that you can never give enough of to me. And I agree. I have been receiving many such requests to speak more on this subject. And I completely agree that this is a subject where one can never, ever share enough information and knowledge. And that this topic is very important for any business, whether it's in the B2B space, the B2C space, or the D2C space. So we're going to talk a little more about branding this week, and I hope it interests you and that it benefits all of you. So on today's episode, I am going to speak about some of the things that you need to do so that your brand becomes relevant. So we're going to take an expanded view today, because we've done a little of it in the past. We are going to take an expanded view today of what a brand is all about. So my standard disclaimer, I will be listing down the points not in any preferred orders, but as they came to me or as I started noting it down. So let's begin. The first and foremost thing that came to my mind was, what does your brand make people feel about it? How do you make people feel? Like, it can be, okay. I have always said that people don't buy a brand because they love it. But people buy a brand because when they are using it, the person sitting in front of them recognizes it and knows his auqat, so to say. Okay. So how does your brand make people feel? That is very important. What is the emotional connection that you make through your communications, through your activities, and through the various branding steps that you take? And what are the emotions that it evokes in the user, in your target audience? And then what do they think about the brand? This is what will define your brand in reality, because it's all about emotions. Normally, when we talk of branding, there are two aspects that we talk about. The first is what we call brand essence. Brand essence is more about the product. What are the features that your product offers? What are the functional benefits of your product? And what are the emotional benefits of using your brand and becoming a brand follower? But you have to remember that there is another part of the branding exercise, which is very important. And that is the feeling that it creates of wanting more of it. So this is what we call the brand experience. The brand experience is something that is going to linger way beyond all the features and the benefits of the product. Okay. And this is the brand experience is basically a combination of various things that you do to connect with your customers. It can be visual, it can be verbal, it can be behavioral, whatever it is that you do which connects and makes you communicate and interact with your customers is what the brand experience is all about. And in today's time, let me tell you, every time I talk to the youngsters today, the Gen Zs or the Gen Alphas or whatever, all of them talk of getting a great brand experience. Going into a Starbucks cafe, finding a power socket somewhere close by, making sure that the Wi-Fi is working. That's the experience that they like. Nobody coming and pestering you every 2 minutes about what do you want to order. So these are the brand experiences that one talks about. The next thing I think that is very important about a brand is the reputation that you create about your brand. What do people say about your brand, whether it's the service, whether it's the product itself, whether it is how you are connecting with them? I know people who love certain brands only because those brands are all the time interacting and connecting with them in a positive manner, not pestering you with messages saying buy this and buy this and buy that. I work with some organizations where even before the delivery has happened, I receive an SMS saying, please rate our service. My friend, I have not yet received the product. How will I rate either the product or your service till you deliver it to me? So this is what I mean. Positive communication, communication that is relevant and not irritating to the consumer. And a brand always is about promise and delivery. Give the customer what you are saying you will give them. Promise only as much as you can give, but whatever you promise, make sure that it is delivered and that it does not fall short. A promise at the end of the day is for people, especially in the diamond and jewelry industry who would know this word, it's muzzle. It's a verbal contract. Even if you have written it in your rules and regulations, at the end of the day, the brand promise is a verbal contract. And for you to live up and honor that contract is very, very important and necessary. Another thing that brands, it has to tell a story. Your brand has to tell a story, and that story has to be about you and your product and your brand and your organization, your values, your commitment, your vision, everything. Your customers' experiences. Make stories out of those. And your brand has to be about values. Define your values. I suggest that it is always better to publicize your values because then you are more prone to honoring all of them and doing as per the values. But the values are the core guiding principles of everything that you do pertaining to your business and your brand. It is what the promise is all about. How do you communicate with your customers and your target audience? Is there a gap between what you say and what you do? If there is, you need to rectify it because that's a sure way of saying that you do not believe or you do something but say something different. It's about the culture that you build around your brand. I don't think many of us realize this, but there is a brand culture with everything that happens. And then there are people who made a mistake of saying the wrong things and they've displayed that the culture is not good, and those brands have suffered. So how you connect with everybody, how you behave with everybody, everyone, right from your vendors to your customers, from your stakeholders to your employees. A brand is about everything, 360 degrees. It's not just about your customers. Because at the end of the day, if your team does not believe in it, and if your vendors are not happy working with your brand, that brand value is diminished drastically. A brand has to be something that differentiates itself from the crowd, especially within that direct competitors. who are there within your frame of vision. You need to do things that stand apart, that make you stand out from the crowd. And that gives your brand an edge because people will expect something different, new from you. It's about your vision. What are the aspirations you have? What are the goals you have? If a brand does not have great aspirations, it cannot be a very great brand because your customers have probably got more aspirations than you have. And if you have no aspirations, that's the end of it. So, to achieve all of this, you need to do certain things. The first thing that you need to do is to plan and map out all the key channels through which you are going to establish and promote your brand. What are the various touch points that you will use to stay in touch with your customers and to communicate all the news and all the stories about your brand? You can use emails, you can use social media posts, and there can be various types of posts. They don't always have to be about a product. They can be promotional, they can be funny, they can be inspiring. Find out different ways. And the more ways you find which resonate with your customers, the better is going to be your brand image and your brand value. How you pack and package your product. Is your packaging something that stands out? Is your packaging something? Everybody knows that Tiffany blue box. You just see somebody carrying that bag and you know, oh, this person has shopped from Tiffany. So even packaging can make a distinct difference, provided you're honest and use it in the right way. Do you use models and influencers? Just the other day, I was having a chat with somebody where I said, today's influencers, most of them are people I personally do not trust because they will promote a product, they will say something, but we know in the real life they're completely the opposite and that they don't do or use that product at all. Which other brands do you collaborate with? Because collaboration with other brands is a great way to increase your reach and your sales. So which are the brands? You have to collaborate with a brand that lifts you. Let that brand be better than you. It doesn't matter because you are getting lifted with that brand's image. Train your employees to know everything, understand, and imbibe the brand into their everyday talk, work, walk, whatever it is. They have also, like you, to live the brand. Okay. So, especially the people who are your front end and who are in contact with the customer all the time, they need to specially know and be a part of that brand culture. You need to have, I think we just spoke about this, but you need to be able to differentiate. So your design, your quality, something has to be fantastic for people to just remember, I want a new Hatke design, let me go to this company. Or I want super quality, these are the people to go. You can buy it blindfolded and be rest assured that you're getting the best quality that's possible. In the beginning itself, determine what your brand strategy is and define it absolutely precisely and clearly. Very sharply, be well defined, set your goals, set everything, and make sure that they are very clear, they are penned down, and that every single member of your team knows them. Okay? Make sure that all the content that you are creating reaches the consumers through one of the touch points that you have established, as we spoke right in the beginning. You need to list ways in which you will comply and use those channels. You don't want things coming up for which you're not prepared. And while doing all of this, you have to keep your brand position in mind. You cannot say I'm a neighborhood brand and then say that I'm global. Dichotomy there. So these are the things to look at. I strongly recommend making a brand playbook. A playbook which everybody in your team knows. And go out and find ways to socialize that playbook. Use parts of that playbook. Use things innovatively so that you can use them on social media and get a lot more coverage. And make sure that everybody who is communicating about your brand to the customers or anybody else are in sync at all times. And refresh that playbook regularly. Not once in a blue moon or not even once a year, more often than that. Because as your brand evolves, your playbook should be changing and your customers should be informed about what is the evolution that you are doing. So while we speak of all these activities and what we need to practice and do to build a brand, it is necessary to remember that these activities and the building of a brand needs long-term planning and commitment. A brand is not something you build in a day or two. Rome wasn't built in a day or two. And brands are also not built in the short term. It's a long-term commitment and a long-term plan that you require to make sure that your brand gets well established. But a brand can be a drain on your budget and your pockets. So what we normally talk of when we talk of doing a branding exercise is two parts to it. One is a short-term activation and the other is a long-term investment. Short-term activation is mainly about getting quick sales and quick revenues. You deliver quick and you get revenues fast. It gives you immediate results. It's supposed to give you immediate results, and therefore quick revenue comes in. But remember that all these short-term activation, it can be a promotion for Diwali, it can be a promotion for Christmas. These are what we call short-term activations. They decay. They're worthless after some time, especially if they're targeted at events or if they're targeted at religious happenings, Diwali, Dashera, all of that kind of things. But those ones create revenue for you, which helps your cash flow. They do not, remember, they will not, and they are not expected to generate huge profit margins. That is the job of your brand. And that's the long-term plan. So this is the short-term activation that you need to do. Brand building is a long-term investment. It takes long-term planning. It needs super commitment. People can get bored of over the 3 or 5 years of doing it, but that's why the playbook is important, and that's how you will keep doing things that keeps your interest alive along with that of your target audience. But these things are long-lasting. They don't decay with the end of Christmas or with the end. That was the short-term promotion. These long-term promotions are long-lasting. They do not decay or become obsolete very fast. And at the end of the day, these are the plans that will make you a part and always have a top-of-the-mind recall as far as your target audience is concerned. And the best part, once your brand is established, you are going to get profits that you would never have got without them. I remember seeing this caricature just a few days back, where there is a coffee which is available for $1.50, and there is a Starbucks coffee cup, same size and everything, and that is available for $5.50. That's the brand. That's the profitability the brand generates for you. So I am of the opinion that both these things need to be done. It is easier to sustain yourself in the long-drawn branding process. So always plan on certain short-term activations okay, which will generate revenues for you. As I said, the profits may not be great, but they will help you to at least generate cash flow, which will help you to invest in the long-term planning. So when you're doing the short term, what is it that you're going to communicate? First thing is you will target ready customers. You're not going to create a customer base there. You are going to look for people who are ready to use your product. And then you need to communicate all the product features and the information to them. And top it all, you have to ensure that that product is physically available to them. Brand building, on the other hand, you have to look for a broader reach. You have to engage with them, not just by communicating, but by engaging with them emotionally. And you need to create memorable communication content and use different channels in different ways. Because this is what will, at the end of the day, influence your consumers to buy the product when they are ready for it. So before winding up, remember, a brand is what people say it is, not what you say it is. And make your brand meaningful. If there is a meaning in using your brand, make sure that it is communicated. Know your market and the needs of the consumer in detail at all times. Communicate regularly, consistently, making sure that the content is all relevant. Let the conversation flow. Position your brand very clearly and stick to that position unless you're doing something different. You're creating a different product, you're creating a different category. That's the different thing. Get the team involved. Make it a team sport. Let everybody contribute to it. Live your brand, as we just said, and keep your brand alive by always continuously evolving. I hope this tips have helped all you guys who have been, as I said, there have been many of you. I can't even list them all down there from various different segments, but I hope this has been helpful, and do go ahead and send me your comments. Thank you.